Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about what it means to become a leaner, meaner senior and celebrate reinvention and the courage to thrive at any age. Today, you're going to be meeting Teresa Bueno, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who is helping women 50 plus rediscover their spark and design vibrant next chapters of life and work. Welcome to the show, Teresa. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Suzy. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm so happy you're here too. When I read your application, I'm like, okay, this woman is coming into the show for sure. So I know we're going to have a really great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. Your background is just fascinating. We're going to be talking about your business, what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way to some extent and might be a little challenging for you in your life, as well as being a business owner. So let's get things started. How old are you? How long have you been an entrepreneur? And what it is do you do in the world?
Well, I'm 74 years young, I like to say, because I don't feel old at all. And I'm shocked, as a matter of fact. I'm just stunned that I could even, how did time pass that quickly, you know?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'm 62. I'm also shocked. How did it happen?
I know. It was just like yesterday. I was like, but anyway, here we are in the middle or a little past the middle as the case may be in my case. But nevertheless, I'm loving life. I love every minute of it. I love living and I'm here. So now that I've told you how old I am, let's see what the other question was. What?
Well, your entrepreneur journey.
Oh, yeah.
And what it is you do now. So how did you get here? Doing what you're doing, and then a little bit about what you're doing.
Okie doke. I have actually been an entrepreneur since I was, for 48 years. I started my first business when I was 26, and I started a drafting design business. That was back before CAD. That's when everything was done, with drafting boards and a pen and ink or pencil and stuff. So anyhow, that I loved it because I always loved art. So I really fell right into that. It was a beautiful, very fulfilling work that I did. And I went from that into real estate, which is another love of mine. And I had a business partner. We owned a Remax franchise together in Atlanta. Remax Center, it's still there. But my business partner, Pat, bought me out whenever my husband retired from work, and we decided to move to Costa Rica.
Wow.
And so I went to Costa Rica. We went to Costa Rica for 10 years. I was really eager to do an ecotourism project. And we put everything into it. I mean, everything, heart, soul, money. But it was 2006 when we started.
Wow.
And for those of you who were around, know that that was like the beginning of a very bad time, the financial crisis in the world. And so, but we didn't know that then, so you just keep on keeping on. You don't know how long it's going to last. And meanwhile, 10 years later, whenever it was clear that it was not going to get funded in the time frame that we had, it was time to put my big girl panties on and just come back to the States as much as I did not want to.
Wow.
But I had one consolation prize that I was giving myself, and that was I would get to take improv lessons.
So that was your booby prize? So you're like, the booby prize was because Costa Rica didn't work out. So it's the opposite of a booby prize, actually. It's the prize that you're giving yourself because it didn't work out. I love that you set that up for yourself.
Oh,
that is so good.
Well, that was the one thing about when we moved to Costa Rica that my only regret, it's like family can come visit, I can see friends, I had answers for all of that, but I could not take improv classes, and that was something that I had fallen in love with back around, 1994 or something like that, and it was like, "Ooh, I wanna do that. I really wanna do that," and I just never got around to it. Life was in the way, you know how it goes, I had a business, it was things were happening and just never just kept pushing it to the back burner until here we are, 2006, moving to Costa Rica, and I'm like, what, but, rats." So, whenever we're coming back and it was so, like, down in the dumps about it all, it was like, "Yeah, but I will get to take improv."
Oh, I
So
love that. I didn't understand exactly what you were saying at the beginning, so I'm glad you explained it. I'm so glad that you had something after such a like a I don't know, it must have been so disappointing not to have that dream pan out. And I went to Costa Rica first in when was that? 2012, I think, or
mhm,
2011. And I noticed the ecotourism was really coming along, like it was noticeable. So you were there probably at the beginning of it.
yes.
Did it feel like that?
Oh, yeah. We felt
Wow.
like we were on the cutting edge. There were a few things, but, the writing was on the wall. This was gonna be huge. And
Mhm.
I was so excited because it also spoke to my heart. It was something that meant a lot to me. I've always been a nature lover. I've always been an animal lover. I've been concerned about the environment before it was a thing.
Yeah.
And so, this just really, really fit for me. And the other nice thing was like it was a business opportunity. It was just seemed like everything rolled up into one. And but then ultimately, uh, it didn't work. Bottom line, didn't work.
Well, Teresa, I have to tell you, I did get stuck on a zip line and had to be rescued. At
Uh,
Extremo, I don't know if you probably know about that one, or maybe it wasn't around then, but it was over 600 feet up. I was so scared. I was so scared. And when the guy came out to rescue me, he said, "You don't look happy." So I'm hanging there, spinning in the wind with my eyes closed, completely freaking out. And I said, "No, I'm not happy." And I was thinking, my son has a GoPro. My son has a GoPro. My son has a GoPro. I'll watch this whole experience later.
and laugh. We will watch and laugh at this.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. So I do have an upcoming trip and I am not going ziplining. I don't feel the need for that anymore in my life.
Sometimes things just get satiated. It was like enough. I've had enough of that kind of adventure. Thank you very much.
Exactly. I'll just stick with sloths and turtles and whales. That's what I'm excited about. Okay, so you
Well,
came back a little sad, but
very
also very
sad.
excited about your opportunity to take improv. Then what happened?
Exactly. Well, I had lost my it was a really bad time. I'd lost my mother to Alzheimer's. I
Oh,
had been taking care of her in Costa Rica, my father as well. He wanted to come back. There was just all these reasons to come back. And then we got back and then daddy got sick. And then, there was that. And it postponed improv for another year. And,
I'm so sad. I'm so sorry about all that. That's a lot of change at about the same time. Very
it
stressful.
is. And, like they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it did. It just I just you get to find out what you can endure, and how strong you are. And when things come up now, it's like, yeah, well, compared to that, this is a piece of cake. So, it's like it helps to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
So, then when I got to take improv classes, that was of September of 2017. So that was what, like about 7 years ago, 8 years ago,
Yeah.
whatever.
Just before COVID.
Yes, and I was 66 years old, and by a lot of standards, way too old for improv.
Whose
You
standards?
Well, the improv game. These people usually start, college or even
Oh,
younger,
I see.
and that, it's often, that's where people enter into it at
Mhm,
earlier ages. But the lucky thing was, and certainly that was the way it was in Atlanta where I was
mhm,
from, and I would have even been old at that at 40, late 40s.
mm.
But lovely thing about Sarasota, is that our median age is much higher than what it is in Atlanta. As we say here in Florida, that old people live in Sarasota and their parents live in Venice. So we have a little bit of an older population. So I didn't feel that I went into the class with no friends or nothing. And there were like three people about my age. And I thought, well, this is great. And they were like, and then on down, all the way down to college kids. So it was like they had this great mix. And I fell in love, Susie. I swear. It
I love that.
it was like when I was a kid, my brother's 18 months younger than me, Chris, and mother would not allow us to play with other children. She was very protective and
Mm,
guarded. We didn't get to play with other kids until we went to school. And so this was back in the 50s. I was born in 51. So this was in 50. So we didn't even have television all day. It was just like few hours of TV. So we had to like invent everything we did. So we played pretend, and we would just pretend to be this and pretend to be that and go in here and go in there and do. And this was like that. Improv was
mm.
like getting to play pretend again. And it was such fun. It just lit me up. And the people, the community, this was at um, um, Florida Studio Theater here in Sarasota. And it's just this wonderful community of people. And it was like instant friends. We all had a shared passion, and so supportive. And our classes, people at different stages of development. And so my class was the same boat that I was in. We were all like, "Ah," came our first show, our student showcase, and it was like scared to death.
Yes. Now, I know that you had like a drive to satisfy this passion and have this experience, and then you finally had it in your 60s. But you're also talking about the importance of the community. Did you anticipate that when you were thinking about improv?
I did not. I did
Wow.
not. This was a discovery. And let me tell you, this is another thing that I have found to be so very true. Regardless of what your spark is, regardless of what lights you up, turns you on, and pulls you forward, without a community, without your peeps, your tribe, your people, it is very, very, I dare say, damn near impossible to stand up against the tsunami of life. You've got the expectations, the work, the this, the that. There's all of this stuff. And then if it's just you to go carve out that time to do this thing you love, the likelihood of it happening sustainably is remote. But if you
That's a
have
good point. That's a really good point. So when you're trying to have your own back to help yourself be happy, you need to put in supports, and one of those supports is community. It's reminding me of another guest that I interviewed recently, and well, I won't tell her story yet because it's not out. But she had a dream to do something, and it was the same thing as you. The community, the importance of the community surprised her and changed her life. Like, it just enriches the experience and helps you go deeper and better, and you have more growth with your new passion as a result of that. It's wonderful to hear you share a similar story with a very different experience.
well, and it's true. And not only that, is that science is backing it up. There's all these studies that are coming out right now that are showing that what's important, more important than even weight and smoking is the strength of your community and
That's right.
relationships.
Yes, are you I'm thinking about the longitudinal Harvard study and the meaningful connection, and you're right, like, it's coming out all over the place, and it's something that I've noticed that a lot of, midlife gals, they're lacking.
Absolutely.
They're lacking for a variety of reasons, a change in, marital status or a change in, where you live. You might be downsizing, going to a new community. Your kids aren't, getting you into that school community anymore, which is I
Exactly.
always thought of it as low-hanging fruit because at least you can have those superficial conversations with people, but it's something. But
It
then at this age, you have to be pretty intentional about it, and it's a surprise to many, which is why there's a loneliness epidemic.
true. And we're not prepared. We're not trained because like you say, we had community hand it to us for the most part on a silver platter. I mean, through our children and their activities, through our work could provide that,
Oh, yeah.
and if we've moved or we have upset the apple cart, we're like lost and we don't have the skill set to like, how do you go out and make friends?
I know, it's so interesting because I didn't have this exact problem, and it caught me off guard. So when I got into the midlife community professionally, it was about the year I turned 50 is when it all started for me after a layoff, and I was kinda surprised by it. But I can totally see, like, I'm comfortable talking to strangers, but there are so many people that
We're
aren't.
not. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that has been really surprising,
Uh, Well,
and
that's the
interesting.
yeah, and the beautiful thing, see, is whenever you have a passion, something that you love, I don't care what it is. It could be bird watching, it could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be public speaking, it could be writing, it could be I mean, improv. It doesn't matter, but you have that bond that, you have this common denominator, and thank heavens for things like Meetup.
Yeah.
You can go online to and look up and probably find someone who's interested or doing what you're doing, and if there isn't, it's very, very easy to set up your own Meetup,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Tech can really help if you're comfortable with tech.
true, true.
Now, how did you get to the point where you wanted to be an entrepreneur again and or still and focus on your spark with Teresa, helping midlife women rediscover their spark? When did that happen?
Well, it came about, um well, I'm just entrepreneurial. When I was even a little kid, I remember being in the 2nd grade and selling more Girl Scout cookies than anybody in my troop, you
Well,
know,
and those thin mints are pretty good.
and they're very good. And the other thing, though, was that I would make pot holders. I had a little loom, and I would make pot holders
I
and
remember
go.
the loom.
Yeah, and I would back then, I mean, this would never happen now, but back then, I would go door to door in my neighborhood selling them,
Wow.
for, 15 cents, for the single loops and 25 cents for the double loops. So, and then I would buy more, loops and make more. So I've just always been entrepreneurial. I come from an entrepreneurial family. And,
That's great.
uh, my parents, my grandparents, were store owners, a contractor. It was just that people just started businesses and
Yeah.
that's what they did. So, it's like if I'm not working on something, it's like it feels like I'm like not like something's missing.
Mm.
But I couldn't find what it was I wanted to do. I thought about going back into real estate and was like, no, I don't want to do that. Been there, done that, and I have also done a lot of coaching and, I was doing some coaching, but it's always satisfying individually, but like, do I really want to do this? And it was not, no, not exactly. And then it was like, what do I have to offer? And it was like, well, improv, but it's like, gosh, there's a lot better improvisers than me. And I love to teach improv, but there's better teachers than me. I mean, it's like, what? And then all of a sudden it was like, "La," the heavens opened up. This awareness that what had really lit up my life was improv, yes, but the underneath, the thing underneath it all was that there was something. There was this spark. There was this energy that I tapped into, that lit me up, that called me forth, that and it could be anything for anybody, somebody
Exactly.
else. It's not what it is, but that it is.
Exactly. And I was watching the way you described improv, and I could see it. Like, you can absolutely see it when somebody connects with the thing that makes them so happy. And, when I turned 60, I came up with an idea to do something called 6 in 60. And I identified 6 different things, categories, to guide people to really create a memorable experience for turning 60. Of course, you can use it for anything. But I wanted to get it deeper than just saying what lights you up, because I found that question doesn't doesn't do it for people. If they knew, they would do the
Yep.
thing. So I asked it a little differently of myself, and the answer came to me within 1 second. And the question was, what lights you up so much that you tear up thinking about it? And that's what did it. Boom. And I knew immediately that I needed to do a trip that I'd taken 30 years before. I needed to redo it. And it was a whale watching trip in Baja, specifically San Ignacio Lagoon, with gray whales, where you're at a camp. It's a nature reserve type of place, and it's a 4 or 5 day experience. And
Mm.
right away, I knew I had to do it again. Now, I know that may not seem so grand or such a breakthrough because I'd done it once before, but the breakthrough was all these years I thought that the only way I could do it again is if I took my family. And this time, it just is like, no, you go by yourself. Like, you're with a
Yeah.
group. A, it'll be less expensive. And B, not everybody is a diehard whale watcher that wants to go out 7, 8 hours a day. Some
Yeah.
people just want to go 3 hours and that's it. And I want to do this like intense and have tons of experiences. But finding that thing, that energy, that love, that passion, and figuring out a way to help people find it, it just seems like if it's something we love, we should know. But it
It's
seems so
simple.
overwhelming to so many people. Like, if they screw it up, they're gonna ruin it or something, right? Like, people just seem like it's almost too hard to access. It's too hard. What's your experience with that?
Oh, yeah. I hear it all the time. And that's one of the things that I wanted to address. And I started like being the inquisitive, Abe Lincoln, self educated kind of person that I am. I just jumped in and started trying to figure it out. And I've done a lot of research on it. I've had experience. I've talked to people. And here's one thing that I've discovered. One thing that I've discovered is that oftentimes we know exactly what that thing is. We know what it is. But what's happened oftentimes is somewhere along the way in childhood, perhaps later, we got shamed. Something happened and it became very, very unsafe. And
Unsafe to go after the thing or unsafe to just be in your skin? What exactly do you mean?
unsafe to go after the thing.
Yeah.
Like, so if say you're someone who sings, whatever. Oh, let me just take myself. Myself. Oh my gosh. Here I am. I always enjoyed humor. I don't know. I was just born. You know what? I came in touch with a friend well, she was my best friend in the first grade. And then we moved and I came across her on Facebook.
So good.
And I texted her and she answered. I said, I don't know if you remember me. I remember her vividly. She was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. She said, you are always so funny.
Oh,
And it was like, wow, that here we were 6 years old in the first grade. And what she remembers about me is that I was funny. Whoever even thought about 6-year-olds being funny? You know what I mean? Like with that never even occurred to me. But the point is,
Teresa, right now, I'm having a flashback to Judy, my friend when I was 7.
yeah.
And I used to always say about her, she's funny. And she was a neighborhood friend. And I did lose touch with her. But as soon as you said that, she was the first funny person I met that I
Yeah.
identified as funny.
And some of us, I mean, I never tried to be funny, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, things would just show up to me and I might think they were funny and share them, but it was not like this. And so funny has been in me
Yeah.
for as long as I can really remember. And so when I was about 14, no, I was a little younger. I was about 13 years old. My mother, on the other hand, was very prim and proper. And and I was a tomboy. And, I was just a general disappointment to her.
Oh,
She did her best to make a lady out of me. There's pictures of me in my little Easter outfit with band-aids all over my knees, and so anyway, my friend was over and mother had gotten a Polaroid camera for Christmas. And
oh, I
my friend,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Linda had spent the night with me. And so we've just coming out of the kitchen, we'd just washed up, cleaned up the kitchen. And mama had the camera and she said, oh, let me make your picture. And so we stood there and I put my arm around Linda's neck, I was like, woo, my girlfriend here. And mama took the picture and we waited for it to come out. And the picture comes out and mama goes, oh, Linda, look how pretty you are. Teresa, why do you always have to act a fool?
Oh, and there it was.
Boom, in the
Uh-huh.
and from then on, man, I hated having my picture made. I hate it. Like, it's like, oh, and just like shamed if I were a kid and like get in front of see my reflection somewhere and start dancing around and being silly. It's like, don't look at yourself.
Mm,
Don't you have any shame? Don't you do that? That's you shouldn't be looking at yourself. So it's just
wow.
all of these things that just, that
It
just
keeps it just pushes you down and that stuck with you for 50 years until you opened the door to improv to let your freak flag fly.
exactly. And it still was so hard. It was still so
Oh,
unsafe. And that's one of the things I love about teaching improv is having people come in, particularly older, adults. You don't have to be older, like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, that they come in with this so wanting to do it right.
yes, I can totally relate to that. It's also part of our, I'm on the cusp of boomer, but it's definitely part of our experience that is how we were raised, very much so, you know? And, I had a very similar experience. I'm not surprised it was similar because, of course, we obviously have so
Awesome.
much in common. But when I started my podcast, I I felt a little like I had to tone down the silly a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I started to see these the iTunes reviews. They were very one after the other would say, "You're I really love your sense of humor. The amount of lightness that you're bringing to difficult topics is making it easier to connect, to access the information." So that's when I thought, okay, that is a sign for me to let my freak flag fly a little bit. And, freak flag is in quotes. It's just that silly authenticity of being naturally who you are. It's so good. Now,
Right.
one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, on this show is this challenge of midlife aging stuff that can get in
Mhm.
the way of the way that you want to run your business. So, one
Mhm.
of the things you noted in your application, the notes that I read before you came on my show,
Mhm.
which is so funny because it's like a Zoom square. But but is this you said that the biggest challenge at this age isn't burnout, it's urgency. And I
Yeah.
could totally relate to this. Can you share a little bit what you mean?
Oh, absolutely. That's like even our the book, The Leaner, Meaner Senior, what that's all about was, like I said at the top of the show, I love living. I freaking love life. The good, the bad, the ugly, I love it all. And the only way I get to do that is with this meat suit. And if I don't take care of my meat suit, then I don't get to play. So
Mm,
that was the inspiration for me. It's like, yeah, I eat right and I take care of my body and I exercise and I do what I do, but not just for the sake of doing that. There are people who love that for that, and God
yes.
bless them. I'm not one of them.
Right?
I do it because I need to do it to get to do what I love to do.
Yes.
And that's where we came up with, my author, Barbara D., and I wrote the book, Leaner, Meaner, Senior together. And we were trying to make that point for people, our age and older even, that, you can take it every little bit counts and, you can make a difference. But that is still I'm 74 now. It's just, it just time is flying.
Yeah.
My mother died with Alzheimer's. Her mother died with Alzheimer's. Now, I'm a very different person. I'm very physically active. I take care of myself, health wise. And I'm very importantly, I have a wonderful community. Improv is, let me tell you, a mental workout and a half.
Yes.
And, I'm playing with people who are my grandchildren's age, so I mean, it's a workout. It's a mental workout. So it's not like I sit around worrying about that, but it is like, yeah, well, there's that. But I only have so much time. We all have an expiration date, you know, and you just don't know when it's going to come up.
It's so true. It's so true. So one of the things that I asked you in the application, I just want to read it back to you, your response, and then you can comment on it because I loved it so much. So you said that entrepreneurship keeps you young in the best way.
Yeah.
It forces curiosity, adaptability, and courage. It gives structure to your purpose. Aging gives me depth and discernment. Entrepreneurship keeps me lit up and relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this for so many reasons. And I have noticed that there is such energy when you're with other entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
It's so exciting, it's so creative, and it's definitely one of the most fulfilling phases of my life. And when you said relevant, that was really interesting to me because for sure it makes total sense. Why does it being relevant mean so much to you at this age?
But I think being relevant is necessary in order to communicate to the level that I want to communicate. I don't want to just sit around and listen to golden oldies, and talk about the good old days. There is life ahead of us, and the access to that is youth. And I feel like I have a lot to offer these young people, but there has to be we have to occur to them as relevant or we're going to be discarded. If it's just that's what my has been my experience. And it still is, that people will want to, I remember one time somebody was saying to me in a group, yeah, so if you want to get in touch with me, you can do it on Snapchat is the best way to do it. And oh, Teresa, like, don't be blowing up my Snapchat, okay? Thinking that, I didn't know what it was. And I said, oh, don't worry, I won't. My daughter-in-law has, my granddaughter has, she makes sure that I behave well on Snapchat. So, and like nobody, I mean, but oh, by the way, here's my handle. So,
Yeah.
and that was shocking to people,
Yeah,
just
there's an assumption. There's definitely an assumption. Um, yeah, I had a very embarrassing thing that I talk about because I learned so much from myself. This was 20 years ago, easily. No, probably 25 years ago. And I was at a dinner party, and I ended up sitting at the end with the older people.
mm,
And I didn't know what older was, but I was assuming 80s. And in my mind, I thought, ugh, I'm at the boring end of the table. Well, it only took about 1 minute for me to be so happy I was at the end of the table I was at, because I sat next to the most fascinating woman. I loved everything about her. I loved the way she was dressed. I loved her jewelry. I loved her stories about her most recent trip to Africa. It was just, she was fascinating. And I thought, shame on me that I thought that the age of somebody would make them less interesting. So I caught myself, and it really made a huge impression. Now, there's one more thing I want to ask you before we get into how can we get a hold of you and stuff like that. Another thing that you said is that I spent decades mastering professionalism, and now I'm mastering authenticity. Oh, Teresa, what a truth bomb. So, when you say you're mastering authenticity, what comes to mind right away?
oh, it's just being me. I'm just getting, and thank you, improv. Thank you. I mean, improv puts
Yeah.
that on steroids, girlfriend. I mean, on
Wow.
steroids, to be yourself. Anytime you start trying to get it right, it falls flat on its face.
Yeah.
But when you can be authentic and respond in a way that everybody's probably feeling it or seeing it, and you put words to that, you like, whoa, you show up like magic, you know? So it's the same in life. Whenever we can speak to what's so for ourselves and others, people relate to us, we become relevant
Mhm.
because you're speaking my soul here. You're speaking how do you know so much about me?
Yeah.
That kind of relatedness that can occur, that transcends age, that transcends
Yes.
what you're doing,
So
to the
good.
to the humanness that we have, what it is to be a human being, to be one that age or this age, and
Yeah,
that
so
there's
good.
so
Yeah,
that's
thank you. Thanks for fleshing that out, because, I mean, that is such an important reminder, and it really stood out. I wanted to talk to you about it. Okay, so how can people best get a hold of you?
well, they can go to my website, teresabueno.com. And that's sort of the hub. You can see my podcast, and I would love for you to come be on my podcast one of these days.
Oh, I'll run right over. I would love that. So
I
it's
would,
called It's the Never Too Late Show. Dot
yes,
com.
and it's about uh people, particularly women, though, who have made some sort of transition in their life, usually in their 50s, given
Mhm.
up their corporate job to become entrepreneurs or to
Yes.
do whatever it is that turns them on, lights them up, what it takes. Because I know there are a ton of women out there who are miserable where they are
Mhm.
and don't have like that fear of stepping into whatever it is that they would really love to do. Th-
Absolutely. I also want to mention that on Instagram, you're Spark with Teresa, and on Facebook, Spark with Teresa, and I'll have all of your stuff on in the show notes, of course, as well. Teresa, this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing this time. It was just great to get to know you and to hear your story, because there's such wisdom in being an entrepreneur for as long as you've been, it's amazing. I mean, that's rare. Most people have not been an entrepreneur as long as you have. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, and I just would like to say to all the 50-year-olds out there that you've got plenty of life ahead of you, baby. It is not over yet, keep going. Keep going.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, that's it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon.